You're listening to Turi Ryder's She Said What podcast. I'm Turi, along with Marci Persky. In this installment, is the afterglow from your vacation gone too soon? And would a Hostess cupcake help you hang on to it just a little bit longer? How long after you get home from a vacation does it take for you to be as annoyed as you were with the entire world before you went on vacation?
Average 15 minutes.
I think I beat your time.
Well, I'm way more laid back than you two.
The spousal unit has, as you know, certain zones of cheapness. Parking is one, and transit is another. So if he can ride his bike or take the bus or take the public transit, it's a no-brainer. That's what he'll do rather than taking a private vehicle and paying for parking. So no sooner do I hit the airport ready to go home from our lovely vacation, visiting you and other friends in Arizona, when I start to get this kind of back of my heart annoyed feeling, just kind of low level. And I realize that it's because I know that when I get home and land late at night, I'm not really home. I have to brave the Chicago public transit system. So I know that I am going to be forced onto the rolling homeless shelter that is the CTA Red Line in Chicago. It's the one that goes from the far south side to the far north side. And to lure people from Midway Airport onto the Red Line, there's the Orange Line, which is pretty civilized. Now, if you've ever wondered, what is it like to live in a homeless encampment under a viaduct? You don't have to move into a tent under a viaduct in a major city to know what those folks are like in close proximity. Just ride the CTA Red Line after midnight.
I have an ambition, really quick.
Yeah.
I fell asleep on the train and after working a 4 to midnight shift. Not only did I get on the wrong train, but I fell asleep and woke up at the end on the very south side. So I'm one of those people.
No, you couldn't be one of those people if you tried. Okay, let's run through a little checklist of what would have made you one of those people. Were you surrounded by bags containing bodily fluids?
No, I left my bodily fluids in the stone container building before I left work that night.
Were you surrounded by bottles of adult beverage in various states of consumption?
Not that night.
Okay, so you didn't leave like a bottle of Jack Daniels with a 1/4 inch of it in the bottom, or some Wild Irish Rose fortified wine, or no.
No.
Did you have a little pile of fast food wrappers for a pillow, which
probably yes. There was a Burger King in that building, so
I know.
But I did wake up to a conductor poking me, saying, "Ma'am." I don't know why nobody told me for like the first 6 months that I lived in Chicago to not look at anybody on the train, because I am a people watcher and I would sit and stare at people, and the strangest people would come over and talk to me. And then I'm a slow learner. I finally figured out.
Don't look. It's like that old novelty song, The Streak. Don't look, Ethel, don't look. It's like that.
Yeah.
So
yep, I'm a looker. Anyway.
So I knew that I was going to have to get on this train. We're waiting. The spousal unit has checked a suitcase because he had forgotten and accidentally brought a pocket knife. So we had to check a bag just so he didn't lose his pocket knife. Even though on the way out, we nearly missed the plane because he had a bike tool in his bike bag, which looked suspiciously like a pocket knife and which had fallen into some crevasse, which they were determined to excavate one item at a time instead of listening to me as I was begging them, please just dump the whole thing out on your table. We are going to miss our plane. So we land.
Sorry, I'm laughing.
We land. I know what's ahead of us. I know. So I'm thinking, do I teach him a hard lesson and by extension teach myself again the same hard lesson? Or do I walk out and say, I'm hailing a cab, you can't stop me, you can get in the cab or not, which I have once or twice actually done.
I vote Plan B without hesitation.
Well, I stupidly did not. So
Getting off a plane, and how long was the ride from Phoenix to Chicago?
Well, let's talk about what that trip actually involves. They like to say that this particular transit line drops you at the airport. If by that you mean a mile away, then it does in fact drop you off at the airport. And the fact that there's a little tube of plastic over your head while you're walking the mile is supposed to make you feel like you're actually in the airport. There are pictures of airplanes on the wall and pictures of the city on the wall. You're supposed to feel like you're in this great tourist destination that is part of the airport. But really, you're just walking 12 city blocks with your suitcase behind you going chunk, 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 chunk. But I'm going to teach him a lesson. So I walk, chunk, 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 chunk. And I go down the elevator because Chicago has decided that it's only important to have escalators that go up. And that on your way down, even though the gravity weight of all your suitcases is going to pull you headfirst down 4 flights of stairs, you're going to walk down those stairs because gravity is helping you. So they don't make escalators that go down, only up. And if you want to go down, you have to ride the floating latrine called an elevator. And you ask me how long, and I do think that if you count it from the time that we hit the baggage claim to the time you get home, it is about as long as it takes you to fly to Phoenix from Chicago. I know for sure it's less time than it takes to fly from Chicago to D.C. because the kids have pointed that out repeatedly. So we get to the Orange Line. Have you ever been in a biology class where you realize at some point it turns from food to excrement, and I'm not sure at what point food in my stomach actually becomes excrement?
I'm missing your meaning.
No, when you're in biology class and you're learning the digestive tract, and you think, okay, I'm chewing it, it's food, goes down my esophagus, it's chewed up food, it's in my stomach, it's chewed and being processed food. When is it poop, right? I can tell you that in transit terms, the minute it's poop is when you get off the Orange Line and you hit that Roosevelt Road station. That's the moment it turns, if you were using the biological analogy, that's when it turns from food to poop, right at that station. That's where instead of the nice clean seats and instead of the nice little electronic readout with pictures of the city and poetry that the children of the city schools have written, that's when it turns to one of Dante's circles of hell.
And what time was this?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe at this point, 12:30, 1 in the morning, maybe.
I would be unpacking my husband's pocket knife at this point.
I don't know why I didn't think of it. So now you go from the lovely above platform with the view of the lake and the museum, and now you start to go down
right through
to the bowels of hell. That's right. You go down a whiz-filled elevator, which I was going to let my luggage throw me down the stairs on my head. That's what I was willing to do, and I'm schlepping, and the spousal unit knows. He's like irked me. He's finally figured out. At one point, he was trying to cheer me up, and I said, you can't cheer me up. You're making me ride the red line, and that's not going to be a cheerable, uppable event. There's nothing you can say or do that is going to make me feel happy about riding the red line after 10 o'clock at night, so you might as well just give up right now. I briefed him before we got on the train at all.
I think my husband might need to give your husband a lesson in the path of least resistance.
Well, you'd think that after 7 years of marriage, he would know this, but, I will say this, it's probably the same kind of fortitude it takes to be married to me for 26 or 7 years. He does not give up in the face of seemingly overwhelming odds of success. So
now, I love Frankie more than anything in the world, but I'll tell you something, if he had a choice between taking the L home from the airport with all his luggage at 12:30 at night or selling me to have money to take a taxi, I would belong to someone else right now.
Okay. Well, it may come to this. So now we see the red line approaching. I'm like, we can still leave now and catch a cab. I'm thinking I could still just go right back up that escalator. But I'm in. I know the deep lesson is about to be learned. Now, there's only one thing you could get on in public transit that's worse than a car where people are visibly passed out or high, and that's the car with nobody on it. Because if you see a car with nobody on it, you know that whatever has happened in that car is so bad that no one can stand it. So the spousal unit is like, well, that car's empty. I'm like, yeah, that car's empty. So no. So we review several other cars as they come down the track, and I pick the car that has the people who look completely passed out because I figure I'll get the least amount of violence out of people who are either completely exhausted and sleeping or overdosed or dead. That's, yeah, yes. Dead. So we get on that car. It has, by my count, 3 people who are in limited states of consciousness. And we get on. And we sit down across from each other with our little roller bags. And just as the doors are closing, I don't think I've seen anybody this messed up since emergency room visits at 2 a.m. or possibly college. Whatever this guy was on, he was combining it with the remains of a bottle of Jack Daniels. He had a giant knapsack full of what he proudly proclaimed was stolen food. And he was claiming also at the same time that he had $40 in his pocket, a whole lot of pot, but no crack.
Did you ask him what kind of food he had at least?
Oh, no, I didn't have to ask because he starts trying to wake up these sleeping people who I'm convinced probably do have knives and firearms, sleeping, passed out, not quite dead. And he's screaming at them, I got some Ferrero Rocher chocolate. You want some? It's really good. I stole it.
I would have raised my hand.
And he's got, you want some food? I got chips, man. Chips, mother. I got chips. And he's going
I would have said, what flavor?
I realize that there's also a conscious person on the CTA train.
Bravo.
Yeah, she's having a conversation. It's so sad. She's having a conversation loudly to an imaginary friend about abuse. And she's inadequately clothed in just a little pink t-shirt. And this drunken crazy man, goes up and he's hugging her and he's giving her chips and she's taking the chips and there's some kind of revival scene going on. And then he starts walking up and down the car. And it has now become clear that he is not only a high person, he is also a gay man who is declaring who he would like to and it seems that my husband is the winner. And then comes the moment of highest bliss. Apparently, this highest bliss can only be achieved with pot and perhaps crack and a bottle of Jack Daniels and a Hostess strawberry cupcake.
I love Hostess cupcakes.
He opens the... Maybe you should ride the red line again, Marci.
I should.
It's free because he stole it.
I'd be there yelling, where's the cupcake man?
I keep thinking he's got to get off. And then I realize that he's not going to get off.
He's getting off looking at your husband.
He started to get off at one stop, and right outside the train were 2 of Chicago's finest. And he took a look at them and turned right around and resumed giving away his haul. And may I also say...
his stolen chips.
His booty, bounty, whatever you want to call it, that's safer. So now we're hearing just generalized screaming from the guy. And the spouse looks at me and he makes the gesture of, do you want to change cars? And I pull down my mask just enough to say to him, the devil you know, and put my mask up again. Because the guy who's inebriated with the strawberry cupcake, it's someone else may kill him, but he's not going to hurt us. And then I pull my mask down one more time, and I say to my husband, who can read my lips extremely well after 26, 27 years of marriage, I say these words, never again. And he nods his head. Thanks for listening to Turi Ryder's She Said What podcast. If you'd like to do us a great favor, please leave us a good review wherever you hear this podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Turi Ryder's She Said What. And you might also enjoy my book, She Said What? A Life on the Air, which you can find any place you buy your books or on Amazon.